What's up, heathens? How ya doing? Tonight we have a wrestling conspiracy theory. This is a first for me. I did not realize that the wrestling scene had conspiracy theories associated with them, but apparently the WWE is a pagan satanic death cult. And there's going to be some proof that they are that tonight. So, if you're interested in satanic wrestling, pagan death cult, Undertaker conspiracy theories, then please stay tuned. Are you sure you're ready, honey? Because during the pre-show, you helped me do the research for this video, and you almost had an aneurysm.
I did.
Yeah,
it was horrible.
It was horrible.
It's horrible.
Oh, God.
And I don't have a mic.
Oh, do you want me to give you a mic? She said that it's best that she not have a mic for this because, woo! She's a big fan of wrestling. I was a big fan of wrestling. This hits home for her. There's going to be some things that are very inflammatory in this video. So I'll understand if you get really mad and you want to throw shit at the computer. But I just want to say, and the lawyers are in my ear telling me, do not blame GE for any damage to your monitors. We cannot cover the costs. Okay? All right, here we go. Validation Boy. Validation Boy is a really good troll. By really good troll, I mean he's just a shitty fucking human being. But he's targeted a number of the science communicators in the community that go after flat Earth. So this guy is by no means like a reasonable person.
When you're talking about history, you got to take it with a grain of salt. You got to think about I guess there was this Roman Empire, and it's funny, Let me break something down for you guys. We're going to talk about fucking professional wrestling. How do you like that, Jed? So anyways, we're going to talk about how the Undertaker, okay, is a guy, all right, a huge guy. He wears all black. He's supposed to be the graveyard fucking grave digger, fucking scary death, and they call him the Dead Man, and he's the Undertaker, and he represents fucking death.
Right. So just to give you a little bit of background, the Undertaker is played by Mark Calloway, and he initially started his wrestling career in 1986. And he worked for a few different organizations, including the WCW, before going to the WWF. If you're not in the know about how the wrestling scene was back in the 80s and early 90s, there were a lot of wrestling federations. Like it's not as consolidated as it is now. They were just all over the place, right? So he eventually made his way to WWF, and he made appearances there. But the reason why he became the Undertaker is because he really loved Westerns, and he really wanted to play this dark, menacing character that is an Undertaker in these Westerns. And he also played it very low, his mannerisms, his voice, and everything like that. Like he's got a very big, demanding demeanor, and then he speaks very low, and that just creates this sense of fear and everything. And so it's quite interesting to actually see the development of the Undertaker as a character in the WWF. But yeah, so that's just a little bit of background on the Undertaker, how he got there. He didn't become the Undertaker until about 1990, and then he was pretty much the Undertaker from then on. But he held a number of different titles and roles up until that point. We got another super chat from Teresa. Are we sure Validation Boy isn't recording this from Satan's Underworld? Sure sounds like it. He might be, I don't know.
And every year at WrestleMania, you got to understand, WrestleMania is always in the very beginning of April. It's essentially a fertility, sorcery ritual.
None of that is correct. Sometimes WrestleMania takes place in March, but basically this is just a traditional thing that the WWE now does. Every April, March, they hold the Wrestlemania as like a big event. Or March or April, sorry. Uh, they hold it just because that's when the first couple of ones were held. So it's not really anything to do with Easter or fertility or anything like that. It's just literally that's when the first two happened, so they just kept on doing it.
And the guy who owns the WWE, Vince.
This fucking image of Vince, he's got a woman's feet up at his head, and he's looking like, oh yeah. Jesus Christ.
Openly ridicules and mocks Christianity, and basically is very, very pagan. And his shows, okay,
Okay, so pagan is a very specific claim here. Vince McMahon is not a pagan. He doesn't really talk about his faith all that much. He is a staunch Republican, and something that you may not know is that he's actually donated about $5 million to Donald Trump's campaign. He also supports a number of PACs that support the Republican Party, and he's just in general very Republican. And I really think that because at one point he had a wrestling match with God. And God was just a spotlight. And KC was actually at that particular wrestling event. Yes, honey.
I was there and it was so great.
Yeah.
It was Shawn Michaels and God, who had just become like a reformed Christian, right? And Vince McMahon and his son.
Right.
It was Shane. It was awesome. It was awesome. It was at Backlash 2006.
Yep. Okay. But still, not pagan. Like, you can say that he's done some anti-Christian things, I guess. But in reality, he's not anti-Christian per se. He's not pagan. We couldn't really find any kind of information on his personal beliefs. He just loves money, as you can tell in this particular picture.
Monday night show called Raw. Okay, Raw, like the sun god Ra, but it's spelled R-A-W, like raw chicken. But
I like how he had to put the term raw into context, like raw chicken. So Raw was named as it was because it's supposed to be uncut, uncensored, and uncooked, as it were. That's why it's named that. It's not because of the sun god Ra. Raw and raw are two different words. But, of course, conspiracy theorists have to take small nuggets of truth, the fact that it's called Raw, and then he has to transform it into something that makes sense to him and extrapolate from that these different conclusions. Like they named the show Raw based off of the sun god Ra. So he's trying to make these weird, very flimsy connections in order to make his idea work. Which I don't know why like naming it after the sun god Ra would have any connection to like pagan beliefs, other than the fact that like the Osiris cult and the various different Egyptian gods, I guess, would be considered pagan, but that's not in general what we think of as pagan. Gary White sent a super chat saying, "Oh, ECW almost started a riot in Dayton circa 2001." Yeah, I think they were fucked up because they got bought out, didn't they? Oh, okay. Does anybody remember the XFL? Well, yes, it's
Vince,
yeah,
like
yeah.
Vince.
So, yes, Vince owned. I thought that the WWE, like that, the entire wrestling brand, like that was their intro into football, and it was like a whole big thing. No? Okay. Anyways, continue.
It might.
Yeah, I know that XFL is coming back. Yeah, they are.
But it's red, and it's called Raw, and it's red. He has SmackDown, and it's a blue show. So he has this red and blue polarity every single week, you know?
Well, yeah, that's because way back in the day, what you had was WCW and WWF going at it for ratings, right? The WWF had Raw, WCW had SmackDown, right? One was blue, another was red. It's really just this competition thing that happened, and they always competed for ratings because they would both show on Monday nights. Half of the show would intersect with the other show. And so they would basically just compete for who could get the best ratings and all this other stuff. So that was, I guess, until they bought out the WCW, and it's just now WWE. So yeah, yeah, right. So the reason why they had to go to the WWE is because the World Wildlife Foundation actually had a trademark, or maybe a copyright. It might have been a trademark on WWF. And so they had to refigure things, and they just went to WWE, and that's when their symbol just became the WWs. Oh, apparently, Wuhan says that WCW had Nitro and Thunder. Oh, okay. So maybe the night. My bad. Maybe the Monday night show was Nitro. Right. Well, yeah. No, that's. I was talking about WCW. I said the WCW had SmackDown. They didn't. It wasn't titled SmackDown at the time. It was just the WCW version of Raw, which eventually turned into whatever it is now.
And then at the end of the year, well, it's at the end of the wrestling season, you get WrestleMania, but the wrestling year ends in April. So basically, he's celebrating a pagan new year with his mania of sports.
I mean, the WCW does or not. There's no like end to the wrestling year. I don't know why he thinks it's the end of the wrestling year. They just generally hold WrestleMania in the March April timeframe. So yeah, wrestling goes all year long. So I don't know. I don't understand.
And here's the thing. There's a guy named The Undertaker, okay? The Undertaker has now had 25 matches in a row at WrestleMania. I think he's the one professional wrestler in history who has appeared in the most WrestleMania matches overall. And not only that, he went 21 years undefeated right out of the gate. So
Okay. I don't understand why this is particularly interesting. Um, well, no, I meant, of course it was awesome, but like as far as like him making it out to be some kind of big conspiracy thing, like him going 21 and 0, yeah, that's great and that's awesome, but I don't see how this factors into the conspiracy.
he went 21 and 0. And then when WrestleMania 30 came around, he was going up against a guy named Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar is known as, in wrestling, as the Beast incarnate. Okay?
Oh crap, I know where this is going.
And we're at WrestleMania 30. Okay, so it's a 10, and it's a ritual thing. So
I want you. It's not a ritual thing. I mean, WrestleMania, like, there's nothing more special about WrestleMania 30 than there is about WrestleMania 29. It's just one more year. See, conspiracy theorists love to place arbitrary significance on these nice round numbers. Just because we like nice round numbers doesn't mean that nice round numbers mean anything significant. But see, conspiracy theorists, they love to take these little bits of information and then extrapolate from it. So if it's something that's happening on a 30, a nice round number that includes the number 3, obviously this is going to be some kind of ritualistic thing.
Undertaker, the dead man.
Huh? Yeah. Brock Lesnar's a farmer. You know, it would make sense. I think that he could definitely do the work of a bull or whatever, like one of those. You put the harness on him, and he's like, "Arrgh!"
Death faces off against the beast incarnate, okay? And the beast defeats death. And it's the first time death.
God damn, Brock Lesnar is sponsored by Jimmy John's. Jeez. He.
That's not a good.
Casey said he freaky fast. And that's not a good thing.
Loses at WrestleMania, the spring festival of rebirth, for the pagan psychopath Vince McMahon.
No. I don't know. He might be a psychopath. I really don't know. He might be a cool dude. Huh? No, Vince McMahon.
Oh.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. Vince is kind of fucked up. But he also wasn't doing this for some kind of fertility ritual, or a rebirth ritual. I have no idea what the fuck that means.
In his pagan ritualistic psychosis, and the fact, he murdered Chris Benoit. Everybody knows that now.
Okay, so this is the point where it kind of goes over the line. And of course, conspiracy theorists, they have no line whatsoever, okay? For one thing, Chris Benoit had a brain injury due to his wrestling career. And because of this brain injury, he ended up not only killing his family, his wife and his son, but also himself. But you see, the thing is that after the investigation, they did a brain scan, and it turned out that he had suffered so much brain damage that his brain actually looked like an Alzheimer's patient. And
85.
An 85-year-old Alzheimer's patient. And so he was basically experiencing dementia at that point, is what he was doing. And so because of all these years of abuse to his brain, he eventually ended up, killing his wife and son. And that's a horrible fucking tragedy. And, I really hate it when these conspiracy theorists take tragedies like this and try to use it to push their own agenda. That's just fucking shitty. And like I said, this guy, Validation Boy, is not a respectable person at all. He's a shit person. Well, he is.
And a whole bunch of he murdered the Ultimate Warrior, a lot of people say.
No. Vince McMahon didn't murder anybody.
And those are, of course, speculation, but it's pretty...
Chris Benoit's wife, Nancy, with her ex-husband and proud Satanist Kevin Sullivan, suspected to have murdered Chris, Nancy, and Daniel Benoit 10 years to the day of her divorce from Sullivan. Okay. See, this is just extrapolating from unimportant information. This should not matter to that particular incident, and the fact that you're trying to connect them and blame people that didn't have any kind of part in it is just fucking ridiculous. Also, Satanists are by far better than by far better than a lot of Christians out there. Okay?
These are gimmicks.
Yes, they're gimmicks and characters. Thank you, Casey, for reminding me. They're gimmicks, they're characters, they're stories that are written, they're meant to entertain.
Much well known. He does this thing, and the beast is the first one that can ever conquer death. So we know how he feels. He feels like...
Well, to boil down that particular event of Brock Lesnar defeating The Undertaker at WrestleMania 30 to the Beast defeating death at a symbolic fertility ritual. That's so far from the actual truth. And you're just basically representing the situation to play into your conclusion. And you're doing it disingenuously.
Like the beast incarnate, Satan, the Antichrist, I guess, is the only one who can defy death. That's what Vince McMahon says at WrestleMania 30 by breaking the Undertaker's 21 years of being undefeated at the Super Bowl of wrestling, essentially, or the World Cup of wrestling, essentially. And then Couple years pass. He's 21-1. He goes to 22-1. He goes to 23-1. And then at WrestleMania 33, okay, 33, in Orlando, in Orange County, okay, the same place that the Pulse hoax shooting happened, and
No, see, that's going too far. What? Oh.
the Christina Grimmie hoax murder happened. Okay.
See, to these people, everything is a hoax. That's if you want to, like, in the rule book of conspiracy theorists, mumbo fucking jumbo. It's always like anything that happens in the news is a hoax conspiracy, and to label these tragedies, Christina Grimmie or the Pulse nightclub shooting, both of those events, to label those as hoaxes is just disgusting to me, and that's the one side of the conspiracy theorists that I really hate and that I have to put up with if I'm going to do these videos. But to suggest that these things are hoaxes is just over the line. Beyond the pale, I think is what the phrase is.
Okay. It comes to Orlando in Orange County, and they have WrestleMania 33. And guess what? Now, The Undertaker faces a guy named, you're not going to believe it, Roman Reigns, Reigns, like the king reigns over his kingdom. Roman Reigns, okay? And guess what? Roman Reigns is the second guy in history that now defeats death. Isn't that funny? So only the beast incarnate, Satan, or the Roman Empire can defeat death.
This is so ridiculous. There's literally no symbolism going on here. This isn't Vince McMahon trying to tell us anything. What would be the point in this? Like, what would be the point in saying that the Roman Empire is the only thing that can defeat death? Or what's the point in saying the beast can only defeat death? These things aren't real. I don't understand why you're drawing this kind of symbolism when there's nothing to support that this is the message that they were wanting to bring to you. These are scripts that are written out. These are plots that are played out in front of you.
That's what Vince McMahon wants to tell you. And now Death has retired, essentially, I think. A lot of people think that after his 25 years now, because now he's 23-2. And it's 25 years of competing at WrestleMania. His first loss was at 30. His second loss was at 33. It's a lot of number magic and a lot of
it's a lot of number magic. You see, you gotta invoke number magic in order to make your crazy, fucked up conspiracy theory work. There is no connection between any of the things that you have mentioned in this video. I would love to be able to debunk you, but I mean, it's just bullshit. It's like me claiming that there's a green goblin up in the fucking corner of my house. Like, there's no, you can't debunk me other than the fact that green goblins just don't exist.
Praying fertility magic too. And Vince defiantly wants to celebrate death. And maybe death is a holiday. Maybe death is a holiday for his satanic sect. Or his fucked up weird pagan sect that he belongs to.
Is that fucking Bill Gates in the background? There's Bill Clinton up there, and like, I don't know who else. I think that's is that Ted? What's the owner of TBS? Ted something. Ted Turner. Like, that. Who the fuck makes up this cult? Like, why is Bill? Why do they have like Illuminati eyes with like human eyes superimposed on top of the triangles? I mean, could they not afford like real Illuminati eyes? Also, I mean, why are they sacrificing a baby? I have no idea what any of this is supposed to. That one guy to the right of Bill Gates looks familiar, but I can't place him.
And check it out. Also, at WrestleMania 30, the whole show, the star of the show, not Undertaker. Undertaker's the inherent star of every WrestleMania for the last 25 years because he's death, and he's often in the actual main event, the actual last match of the night, even if the championship's not on the line. They'll have the championship match before. They'll have it second to last, and then they'll have the Undertaker in his match just because he's the fucking Undertaker, because Vince wants to put over death.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's tradition. Like, it's been tradition for him to be in it. I mean, it just... I don't know.
Death is his fucking... That's what he worships.
Mark Calaway does not... hold on. I keep forgetting his name. The Undertaker. Mark Calaway. Mark Calaway does not celebrate death. He just loves Westerns.
So, that's what he's putting over every year. At number 30, the main star of the show, he got to be in 2 matches. He was in the first match, and the stipulation was if he won that match, then at the very last match, the main event of the show, he was allowed to participate in it, and it was going to be for the championship. So, of course, he wins the first match, and then he's in the end of the show, and then he wins that match too, and it's all about him. And it's funny because all of a sudden, this guy named Daniel Bryan, they made him grow out a huge beard, and they kept saying that he looked like a goat with the beard.
No. They didn't make him grow out a beard. Like, that was not the WWE or anybody like that. So basically, Daniel Bryan has a friend on the Oakland A's, and for a year, they had a bet going on as to who could grow the best facial hair, a beard. And they even had a Twitter war over it, and in fun. It wasn't real. I mean, it was all in fun. And so at the end of the year, they took a poll to see who won. So nobody forced him to grow all of this hair and then call him the Goat Man. That's just bullshit.
And everything. And it was very pan, it was very Satan, very pan.
Okay, so if it was Pan, why didn't he come out with horns, with these giant fucking ears, with goat hoofs for feet, and one of those little things? Oh yes.
If he was meant to be a goat, he was a fucking goat.
Oh, definitely. I mean, listen, if him being represented as a goat, being called a goat, they would have went out there with it. They had fucking God wrestle, and he was a goddamn spotlight.
It was God.
It was
there.
He was there. It was God, really.
He was there.
We got another super chat from Arduin saying there should be a flat Earth themed wrestler called the Flatard. His special move is flattening people. He'd have to walk out with one of them fedoras on. Oh, it's a flute. Whatever. The point is that if they wanted him to look like that, they would have made him look like that. And I'm sure he would have jumped at the chance to do it too.
And very Baphomet, if you will. And
basically, you're just saying that, oh, look, he's got a beard. These things have beards. Therefore, they're connected. I mean, a lot of people have beards. A lot of people have long, crazy beards. I don't understand why you have to, why does everybody that has a long beard have to be connected to Baphomet or Pan? It's just a weird thing. Teresa, Minnesota says, and the U.S. Navy's mascot is a goat named Bill the Goat. There has to be a conspiracy in there somewhere. Of course, the Navy is practicing fertility rites on their fucking ships. Every time they go to war, they have to all fuck each other and then go to war because of fertility, fucking Baphomet pagan reasons. They probably carry a spare Bill Gates Bill Gates priest on their ships at all times so that they can sacrifice whatever. It is the Navy, yes. Uhan Roderick says this is all Arduin's fault. Hashtag Brocephus 2020.
The guy's name in real life was Bryan Danielson, so Vince did a flip-flop and called him Daniel Bryan. because his name was Bryan Danielson, so he's like.
Okay, so this is completely false. When Bryan Danielson, when he was coming into when he was going to sign with the WWE wanted to own his name that he chose to wrestle under, and so instead of going by his own name, he chose the Daniel Bryan, or he had like a group of 10 that. Yeah, he gave a list of like 10 names that he would be okay using, and they picked one. And so basically, he didn't want them to own his name, and so he chose a different name. That's it. See, they take a little nugget of truth that his name is flipped, and then they extrapolate it into some big fucking giant conspiracy that includes a fucking dragon dry humping a skull. We got Vandalia. Vandalia, 1998. Has he watched wrestling lately with the Firefly Funhouse? He'd have a day with that. Oh, I'm sure he tunes in and then he has to immediately cleanse his spirit. So Casey is confirming that Daniel Bryan was a vegan at one time, but now he's not. Oh, and the only reason why she chimed in was because it was in the chat that he might have been.
Oh, in the WWE, your name is Daniel Bryan. And then he has him with the goat thing, and he's always pretty much wearing red. And it's Baphomet, it's Pan, and the...
Why is red associated with Baphomet and Pan? Also, what the fuck is wrong with Pan? Like, I think that he would probably think a pansexual is doing some kind of weird fertility rites every day so that they can continue being pansexual. Or do you think that maybe he thinks that pansexuals fuck these pan-type goat creatures? Is that what it means for him to be pansexual? I'm not trying to rag on the pansexuals out there. I respect you guys. Huh? No. Pan, like the goat, the half goat thing. Like the Chronicles of Narnia has a half goat, half man thing. I'm not sure. Pan was a fictional story, and I think that there's like ritualistic shit going on around it. I'm not. Maybe I should have researched that before this, but I really didn't think it was necessary. But I don't understand why everything that is red is associated with Baphomet or Pan. It just seems to be an extreme to go with. This is also finding connections where there are no connections, which is a core thing of conspiracy theories.
Star of the show at number 30. The first time that Death was defeated, he's defeated by the beast incarnate, Satan. And the star of the show is the Antichrist, the goat. That's what WrestleMania 30 is all about. And
goats are the Antichrist? I mean, I'd say, yeah, I guess they're satanic, but I mean, I don't know why goats get a bad rap. Like, I mean, they just stare at you and they go, are you a goat? Oh, okay.
Then at WrestleMania 33, of course, the Roman Empire defeats Death for Death's second and final loss and shit, basically.
Oh, and that's it. And that's the entire conspiracy theory. So, what did we learn from the conspiracy tonight? Let's go back to the main camera. What did we learn? Everything that is red is also associated with Baphomet and Pan. I guess that means that YouTube is run on Baphomet Pan juice or jizz. I don't know. What else did we learn tonight? We can make weird connections between people with crazy ass long hair and Baphomet and Pan. So the next time you see a guy out and he's got crazy ass hair and everything, you know that he's sucking Pan dick or that he's sucking Baphomet dick. Let's see. Anything that potentially makes fun of Christianity means it's pagan. And Bill Gates is part of the Illuminati Sacrificial Club with Bill Clinton and Alan Greenspan and some other guys, Ted Turner. You know, I feel like I've lost more brain cells than usual tonight. This was. I want everybody right now to say thank you, Arduin, for killing my brain cells. So what I did this week was I put out a call for anybody in the Skeptic Mafia that had a video they wanted me to cover. I had a couple of good ones, and they picked this video. So everybody say thank you to Arduin for suggesting it. But anyways, we're about to go into the Skeptic Mafia comments now. If you're going to be leaving out or you're watching this on the replay, I want you to go down below. Leave me your thoughts. I don't know if you'd have any thoughts after this because all your brain cells committed suicide. But you might. If you do, let me know. Thank you guys for joining tonight. I really appreciate you guys. While you're down there leaving a comment, why don't you smash that like button and subscribe if you like live shows like this. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice, and I will see you heathens later.